Hey, it's the Road Show, and we're back with part 2 of our Monterey Car Week 2024 experience. If you're just tuning in, make sure you go back to part 1. We're doing this chronologically, so part 1 was the Quail and events prior, the Porsche party, some of the folks we
Dan
met.
nearly got arrested. I rented the Range Rover, and Lindsay dobbed us in for race commentary. So
that's right. That's right.
Nothing big.
No. And so basically, this has just been building up. Now we're here. Now it's Saturday. Okay. And by this time, we've all connected. We've discovered that we are going to be doing some commentating at the Rolex Historics at Laguna Seca, which now I had never even...
WeatherTech Raceway Rolex Reunion.
That's you've got it. Right. That's right. And I've never even been to the track other than in video games. So for me, it was just a rush to be, on the track.
I'll add WeatherTech Raceway. Follow me now on Instagram. I feel like I'm
probably back.
Do that, Rolex. Follow me.
Do they? Oh wow! I got some work to do still.
That's right.
I'm okay. Sheffield follow me, so I'm good.
That's right. That's right. We know who our true friends are, right? Yeah. It was just a thrill being there because there's the iconic bridge and just, I guess I didn't have an appreciation.
Wow.
The corkscrew, right? And
I've seen bike riders high side over that, car races miss apexes, and yeah.
Well, the elevation is just crazy, and that's what I'd always heard, but the elevation is next level.
Three stories. 3-story drop.
That's
wild.
As
you go around the perimeter road, you're like, this is pretty steep.
It is pretty steep. I also got a kick out of pass. Yeah. And apparently it had been a bombing range at one time, so you pass fenced off areas that say unexploded ordnance, so that adds a little spice to the day. But
didn't see that. Wow.
And Lindsay, I think you've grown up there, so I mean, your parents were there. We got to meet your awesome parents, and they were crewing on a GT350 Shelby, and
I will say I love that car now. The owner let me sit in it, and he was probably bullied into starting it up. But you felt that vibe. You felt every cylinder fire as you're sitting in that seat. It was,
that is one of my favorite American cars of all time. It's just iconic, the white with the blue stripe. But you got it. You started it up. I think Dan didn't I see you in the car?
I didn't get the opportunity.
No, okay.
But I had my own Mustang, not quite.
Yeah,
the same,
that's right. That's right. It wasn't even a Mach-E, right?
No.
It just what a special place. Walking the paddock and just seeing some of the people the famous racing drivers, right? I think one of us on this call got a picture with a particularly famous driver at some point, and maybe that'll enter into this contest.
I had Jensen Button walk past, and it was too. Like, those moments where you see someone and you don't realize, and then you're too late. They're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Jackie X was walking around. And in the back of my mind, at least, was this promise that we had made that we would commentate one of the races, right? So, you were the first one, Lindsay. It was the Shelbys that you did. I actually haven't had a chance to go back and listen yet, but you were an element.
And Lindsay and her father are really good.
That's right. You did it with your dad. Yeah.
I did. That's very kind. Thank you, Alan. It was really fun. And we did the Ken Miles class, which was group 6. And it was Shelby Mustangs, Cobras, some Corvettes. There was a Bizzarini. There was a Tiger. And it was really, really fun. Jonathan Green from Greenlight was obviously the pro, and he put us at ease right away. When we got into the booth, he was just happy to have people join him. And he said, we're just going to be chatting about the cars. And if you have stories, feel free to share. And it was just such a cool experience.
So Ryan and I were outside because we thought we'd go do some homework on these cars and the drivers. We didn't want to be short of anything to say. So we went and obviously we had Andrew Marriott on the show, who is the benchmark for commentary. And he said, it's all about preparation, guys. So we thought, right, in Andrew Marriott style, we're going to go do our preparation.
Yeah.
We went and spoke to people. Half the people didn't actually know the history of the cars. And the ones that did, like Flowers at United Autosport that Zach Brown runs. He was really good. He gave us the history, and another chap who actually started to give us too much history, and I had to try and back away from him. It was a bit
Just
too
making up
much.
for everyone else, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But so we did the homework, and we were listening for you, and we couldn't hear you, and we thought,
Yeah.
oh, maybe Lindsay didn't make it, or there's
On the
something
PA.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
in the
In the
circuit.
paddock, right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But then we found out from you that it was going out on the YouTube live stream,
Right.
which was
Goodwood's
fantastic.
YouTube channel, right?
Yep. So,
So-
and we didn't know until we did our session. We commentated on the Mario Andretti Classic F1 race, and yeah, then we went and found the clip after, and it was the Goodwood, Goodwood and Speed, I think, or Goodwood. We're going to
Festival
find a
of
link.
Speed.
Yeah.
Official
So
channel.
that was crazy. 37,000 people listened to the stream.
Glad I didn't know until later.
It was
Right,
137 before you guys got on the radio.
That's right. That's right.
No.
That's right.
And I'd like to call out Ryan on this because everyone went out of their comfort zone, but I think Ryan more so. I think Ryan, you'd be the first to sort of recognise that
Well-
the motorsport stuff is something that you're learning, and to jump in with 2 feet was very commendable. So
Well,
congrats.
thank you for saying that. I leaned very heavily on Alan, if you've listened. But I have to say, the race that we did, I probably, even amongst all the races, like that was the one I knew probably least about. Like I probably could have fudged my way with some of the, the 60s GT cars or whatever, And so if you listen, I speak in very general terms about, I think what was it? That's a good looking group of cars on the track or whatever.
So don't feel bad because obviously I sent the link to the family and I came back and I said, so did you listen? And my wife went, yeah, the main guy who does it. I said, Jonathan. I went, yeah. And she goes, yeah, he's really good, isn't he? So what are you saying we're not? She goes, oh no, you're okay, but he was really good. You can tell a pro, can't you? I'm like, oh, thanks, yeah.
Alan, you were dropping knowledge. I mean, it was, but we did it, right? I mean, you were wonderful. Right. We I don't think we embarrassed her. So that was my fear. We all know how fierce F1 people can be, and I didn't want to mistakenly, say something that wasn't accurate and then get flamed in the comments or something. So I looked in those comments on the YouTube page and I didn't see one that
oh, good on you. I'm not brave enough to.
That or we were just such a blip on the radar of, the day that, didn't even factor into it. But it was such an experience to actually go up to the tower and to sit there and, and it's not a glamorous world, right? I mean,
you're in a shoebox.
Yeah,
Right.
and Jonathan is such a pro, and just to see him work, he's got his computer open, he's got some books, he's on Wikipedia, he's, got handwritten notes, he's just bouncing around. Nothing, nothing flusters him, even us.
No.
And we got along really well. He was great, and he even let us put in a promo for the road show after a commercial break. And he's also monitoring like the producers. I mean, it was really next level. And I honestly think we got a bump from it. Downloads and all that. I think we got a little bump on the charts, so it was well worth it. And
That's
I am
fantastic.
learning on this journey that you can't say no to any opportunity, right? Even if it is under or out of your comfort zone, you have to you got to grab that brass ring. And one thing leads to another, which kind of leads me to where Alan and I headed after the track, unless either of you have any more you want to add about.
I can't even remember where I headed up.
I was going to say a couple of things on Laguna, if that's cool.
Yes.
Before you guys just completely steal the show with your magical invite. So firstly, I think this will be, if we look back, this will be a pivotal year for Laguna and the track.
Yep.
So, they've just appointed a new CEO, Laurie, and they've cleared any court cases around sound, etc., with all the locals. And they've got a team that are really, really all in on developing that track and, bringing new rejuvenation to it. I think we saw that firsthand with the team we worked with. So Alicia and the team there, really thinking strategically about how do you bring new new content creators, new photographers to
That's
the
right,
track.
because
So
this was the first year of the content
yeah,
creator pass.
so this was their idea
Right.
to separate out. So traditionally, you all went in on one bucket, which was media, and it was the folks wearing the vests taking the photographs. But there was no real accommodation made for folks that didn't necessarily use photography, and they used other mediums like us with our podcasts. So I'm excited for next year.
Yep.
So next year will be 75 years of Formula One at the track. So
Amazing.
let's all brush up on our knowledge around Formula One,
Yeah.
me included, and let's hope we get invited back to do
Absolutely.
more great stuff. So thank
Absolutely.
you to the team.
Yeah. Thank you,
very
Alicia.
much. Thank you.
Yeah,
And I
it's-
felt like a bit of a faker sitting in the media unit. You know, like obviously Ryan and I were there, we were prepping, we're doing some things for the commentary, and obviously there's hardcore camera and journos slogging away doing a fantastic job, you know, updating all of their various sites and magazines. So yeah, I felt like a bit of a, you know, a faker in there, but I will be more comfortable
Pulled
next
it
year.
off. Yeah.
Next year.
It's just it's hallowed ground. The track is really, it's iconic. It's special. You know, even if you don't know the track, you know it, right?
Yeah.
And just to be a part of that, it's just you know, fake or not, you know, it sure felt good. So
Yeah, Ryan was so excited he took his shirt off in the media.
well, we wanted to be twinsies, you know.
That's right.
That's
Sporting
right.
the last minute Costa Mesa T-shirt warehouse.
That's right. That's
looking
you
shirt.
are a dedicated part of the team. You did that. Usually takes me weeks to get t-shirts. So, but it was just awesome. And again, thanks to Alicia and that whole gang. It was I do hope that we're back next year and it can be an even bigger part.
We'll do it better next year because now we know how it all works.
Now we
So,
know. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. So where did you two, so Dan and Lindsay, where'd you go from there?
Right. No, that was
Do
Saturday.
you remember? Because again, there are big portions of
Saturday.
this trip I have no recollection of, but
I
it was
know.
all amazing.
Saturday,
was
I took
Friday.
the night off. That was Saturday
Okay.
for the races at the track. I took the night off Saturday. But yeah, I just want to say thank you
Yeah.
again to Jonathan and Alicia. I think it was just such an incredible experience. And if I had to pick a highlight of the week, it would be getting to do that.
Yep, absolutely.
Very cool.
Well,
I had a private small dinner with some close friends, but it was one of these, you know, after all the exuberance, we literally had a meal at Whole Foods. But
Love Whole
knowing that after Whole Foods, we had an invite to a special party and possibly the party of the week. But before we get there, you guys
Yes.
got the golden ticket.
again.
And I'm talking about Ryan and Alan.
Yeah.
So what's this golden ticket that you
Sure.
got presented with?
Well, we have to be a little discreet here because we're asked to be discreet. But in the paddock, ran into I want to call him an old friend of mine, Bruce Meyer, and Bruce was one of the best guests we ever had when we were doing the steering committee. He's good pals with my friend Tom, and he's just been wonderful to me personally since I've met him, and ran into him, and Tom and Bruce got to talking, and next thing I knew, Bruce had volunteered us to take a private tour of probably one of the world's best private car collections. And we were told that we should probably look nice and be on time. And I asked immediately, well, can I bring a couple more friends? Now, Dan, you've seen this collection.
Yeah, I think I was the ones that said to you guys, smarten up.
Yeah.
Smarten up. Okay. Yeah. That's right. That's right. As a Brit would say. We headed out to this incredible home in the area where there were
2
a couple
levels of
gates.
security to get in.
Yeah. The host was amazingly accommodating because it was me, it was Alan, there's our pal Maurice from Horsepower Heritage, 3 of my friends from Fuel Fed here and back in Chicago, and we walked in, and you know, I don't know that I've ever been to a home with a forecourt, I think is the word.
Courtyard.
Yeah. You know, it's
It was an amazing place, wasn't it? In every respect that you looked at it.
oh God. And we were driving, and we were there with Colin, and we were in this electric Hummer, and we were told to park the car between like a Talbot Lago and a Bugatti, or, you know, and it was just like, oh, be very careful here, you know?
Yeah.
And we walk in and the doors are open. And again, the air smells very nice. You know, I don't know what they're pumping into these places.
Cleanest garage that I've
Cleanest,
ever
speck of
been in.
dust.
And I used
Not
to
a
work in
weed.
pharmaceuticals in Australia.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Not a crack in the the side, the path. I mean, it was just, everything was perfection.
And I feel nervous. I don't even know how much of this we can actually share, because I don't actually want to accidentally say something I shouldn't. But
yeah, well, I'm trying to be very careful, keeping
phenomenal
things
car,
general.
phenomenal motorcycles.
Yep.
And then he had to go and do something else. So then
Yeah.
Bruce gave us the tour of another area, which was another amazing fleet of cars and motorcycles. And
What
So you can't talk about what cars you saw, or you can?
I
Maybe
think we need,
maybe if we nod, if you guys
Yeah.
nod,
Yeah.
did you guys see any Mercedes SL
can't
Roadsters?
comment.
Did you guys see any Ferrari Formula One cars?
Can't comment.
Did you guys see a Ferrari 250 GTO?
Can't comment.
I don't even remember. This is my honest answer. I don't remember everything we saw, and we were not to take photos, which completely respected and understand.
Right.
But there are two levels of cars, and yes, some very amazing cars that you, even if you're not into cars, again, these cars or motorcycles, and two levels. So like lots of past Pebble Beach winners, things like that, right on the top floor. And then you go below, the owner referred to them as his grab and go cars. So, that might be where your 74 RS lives or whatever, right? Even Bruce said something to the effect of, okay, like, there are collections like mine and he's got this amazing collection. And then there are collections like his, and that was his.
And
you have to use a little bit of imagination here, but
every picture, every car he had a picture of that car being used at a certain either film or race or iconic photo shoot. And if you were unsure what the car was, you definitely knew by the picture. And there was so many iconic pictures printed in like, I don't know, 8 foot by 8 foot square on the back wall of each section. It was,
you've
super
seen
impressive.
these pictures. These are like Getty images, right?
Yeah.
And then like
Iconic
there's
images
the car,
with the,
right?
with the actual vehicle as well.
Just incredible. And we're probably going to have to take this recording and run it past for approval. And I don't think we've given out anything to,
No, we've not said where it was. I did an event there 2 years ago, and it was so exclusive that only 12 people were invited to the event.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal location and a very kind owner who luckily shares the cars with a few people.
True enthusiast and
Drives
again,
them all. Great guy.
Yep.
Might be a guy, might be a woman. I don't know. Can't remember.
Thank you again, sir. It was a special experience. Hope to repeat it someday. But if not, I can die a happy man, because this was one of those truly, truly exclusive, to your point, Dan, and special glimpses into one of the world's great collections. And hell of an owner too. So
I tried to remember all the cars so I could share with my son when I got back. But I just couldn't remember, half the cars. But that was the civilized part of the evening, wasn't it? That was.
And let me interrupt. Thank you, Bruce, too, for making that happen.
It's really cool.
You're a hero too, so thank you.
Yeah, very much.
We then got invites to Area 51, didn't we?
Oh, you're 21.
21.
Which I didn't figure out the significance of that. Did any of you?
Yeah, I can't remember though.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Sign of a
Lindsay
good
had a
party.
night off.
It was a great party.
I did. Well, and I was going to say quickly,
to...
I think the tour that you got to do illustrates Car Week. You just lucked into getting to see one of the coolest collections, with some really incredible cars.
Well,
and
to be honest, that's the whole thing. Is like you guys sort of half knew what it was about, or knew absolutely, and you were trying to get media passes and tickets for this. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to run myself ragged, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. So I'm just going to go, and I'll figure something out. I don't know how, don't know when or why or what with, but I got into everything. And just by being interested and being friendly and talking to people, and I didn't ask for anything. It was all invites. So it was just an amazing, open, friendly group of phenomenal people to go there.
Yeah.
Your enthusiasm is your ticket for a lot of stuff, right?
100%.
And yeah.
And then Area 21. So what is it?
Area
What was it again?
So how do we pronounce the name of this company? Because
Czinger.
Zinger.
you say the C. I just
Well,
say
Czinger. I'll see Zinger. It's just so it's clear that everyone knows what company it was.
okay. All right.
The
Yeah,
1+1. Is it a hypercar? Is it it's almost supersonic, that thing. It's breaking, records everywhere.
Yeah.
Where did it go?
Yeah, Goodwood,
And-
Kota.
Yeah.
and they delivered their first customer car
At
Yeah.
That's
Quail.
right.
that week too.
Yeah.
So yeah. So let's set the scene here. So I think they call it some sort of community center. It's obviously an old church, right?
Yep.
That had been converted. And so
Modernized.
it's sort of
Yeah.
behind this gate and you walk down and there's this big, church building with their projections going on. It's this future theme, like all this custom, like neon signage everywhere. This was not an expensive event. Maybe 100 young ladies in silver lame, bodysuits and, I don't know, futuristic goggles and gyrating
Take one
around.
step back. As we're walking there, Maurice said, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're supposed to dress up in futuristic clothing." We're literally like 20 feet away from the gate to get in, so it's like a mad scramble. Do we get some tin foil or something and wrap
Mhm.
ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
But everyone was really good. We didn't need to, but
Yeah.
the
But a
second
lot
you
of people
got there,
did, which was
they
cool.
did.
Yeah.
Some funky,
pretty creative.
hats
Yeah.
and
And they
stuff.
had space-themed cocktails.
Yes.
glow in the dark cocktails.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I don't
That's
know
pretty
what was in
cool.
there, but they
Yeah.
tasted good.
They did taste good.
It was like it was neon green. Everything was neon green as you walked in, and blinding, and great music, great DJ.
Yeah.
And I'd heard it was a great party because you drink, you have a talk, and then they do like burgers and I think it was Shake Shack.
Shake
burgers
Shack.
and fries
Yeah.
at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. But again, was it Kenny stood up and gave a talk about
Yeah.
as he got a little bit emotional, he did, and his son. And then they projected this video up onto the wall of the old church or community center, and it was really cool. So it's on my Instagram, it's on our TikTok.
Yeah.
Go and check it out. It's worth watching.
Yeah. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, you
It
have
was
to
so
see
over the top and
imagery.
amazing and just such a great time. And their story is amazing too. And the fact that,
Yep.
it's no easy feat to start a car company. Obviously it doesn't matter how much money you have or whatever. I mean, there's so much, you've got to get the right people.
And they've
it's
approached it in a really different way. From
Yeah,
an
and maybe
engineering
that's
and
the
chassis
key.
perspective, and then they had a couple of cars on show, had a full one and a completely built one and a naked one, so you could see everything. Like they're really proud of all the 3D printing that they do. It was truly an impressive show. The guys
really
from
was.
Peterson were there, so I
Yeah.
saw
Yeah.
Catrice and Luna. They were
Yeah. Lincoln.
there.
Hey, Lincoln. Yeah.
Lincoln,
Yep.
yeah, of course.
It was awesome.
uh,
It was awesome.
We met a guy there who was one of their engineers,
Mhm.
and the Sunday, instead of going to the lawn, they had a private customer event with an airfield. And this guy who we met had an interesting job. So it was an opportunity for customers to test the car on an airfield. And if you're familiar with the car, the seating setup is almost like a hypersonic
jet.
jet,
Yeah.
a fighter jet. So you sit with the driver in front and you directly behind. So this engineer's job was to sit behind the customer, listen to their feedback as they go up to like 200 miles an hour down this drag strip. It's probably the most dangerous job in the world ever,
Yeah.
right?
He
Yeah.
was allowed. I think the tap out was to slap the helmet. So
Stop.
I love it. If you can lift your arm from the G forces to,
Right.
that's
Helmet,
yeah.
that's
What do they say? A
amazing.
picture's
That's
worth 1,000 words. A slap of the helmet that's the automotive equivalent.
yeah, more.
Yeah.
You pay
Yeah,
for
that-
that.
yeah, that takes some bravery for sure. But hell of a company, right? Hell of a car, hell of a party.
Phenomenal.
The
Yeah,
pictures and
yeah.
video
thing is, we're
definitely
still
gave
only
me
at-
FOMO.
Yeah.
Oh, it was epic. But that's still Saturday night. There's still Sunday.
I know.
This
Yeah.
is where you guys can take over because I checked out. I woke up in the morning and I knew I was going to get to this point early on in
Yeah.
the week that I'd be emotionally exhausted from everything that you're absorbing. Because
Yeah.
I'm there, I love cars and design, so I'm absorbing all the different elements of all range of manner of cars. We did miss one bit though, so I'm going to skip back. Tour de Elegance. So
Mhm.
all the
Yes.
17-mile drive they do, and this was a real inflection point for me that I just walked down this road of just phenomenal cars that people just let the owners let people just walk past and windows are down, stick your head in, do whatever you want, and as long as a bit of respect. But I stood there and I thought, these cars are amazing. Like sometimes, there was that moment standing and seeing all of those cars go past, um, and then being at the Quail and seeing all the modern cars. And I wonder whether something's kind of been lost in automotive design from then to now. There's definitely cool and interesting cars, but it was a real sculpture back in the day for many cars. I'm sure there's a lot of crap that was made as well, but yeah, it's kind of inspired me to dig a bit deeper to try and make the cars and the car parts that I'm involved in more artistic and more sculptured and beautiful parts. Because I think there's a lot of cool older cars that are out there. So if you haven't seen it, go back to Tour de Elegance and watch the video. I think there might be one of our feeds. Phenomenal cars.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. It's one thing to see the cars static. It's another thing to see them move.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, it's
And they're driven as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Getting
yeah.
to see
Need to be
them.
judged, right?
Yep.
If
But
you
they don't
drive them
go
in the
judged on
tour,
Sunday.
if you drive them in the
Yeah,
tour,
they
it
don't
gives
put
you
the
an extra point if it comes down to like two cars are tied in the class. If you've driven the car in the tour, then you have earned an
you get
extra
an
point,
extra
and so that
point.
can be the difference
Yeah.
in the class winners.
So
And they
we all
don't pussy
need
foot
to remember
around.
that for next year when we.
That's right. Yeah, we when we display our $1 million cars.
Right.
But they all drive them hard. They drive. So at that point, I thought, I've had my fill. I'm just gonna. So I had to drive back. I was going to drive back to LA on Monday, and I ended up driving back Sunday afternoon. But I thought I'm just going to go. I'm going to have a sleepy morning, cruise, a couple of hours in the hot tub before I drive back, get a coffee in Carmel, and just sit on a park bench and just contemplate my life,
Feed the pigeons.
feed the pigeons. But Carmel was kicking. It was so
Yeah.
much going on again.
Yeah.
And there was a park bench, there was a lady sitting there, and I said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I sit here?" "No, that's fine." I said, "Are you here for Car Week?" She said, "Oh, my husband, he runs all the simulators for AMG that are here." And she's a PA EA, and so she was up there doing some work and hanging out with her husband. And we're just talking about cars and Car Week and the craziness that is. And yeah, I just sort of absorbed everything, and Carmel was, like I say, kicking. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you all went to the,
We went to
I guess-
Pebble.
pinnacle of the day.
Who had the earliest wake-up phone alarm call? That's what I want to know.
Not me.
I didn't do dawn patrol or anything. I think
Ah.
I got out the door around 7. So
Lindsay, did you get up early for Dawn Patrol?
No, I didn't do it this year.
So
God,
did you.
I feel like,
Process
I
of
feel like
elimination.
it's me.
But I
But-
will say, sorry, one last thing is when I go to motorsport events, I love to get up and get there early so I can see people setting up and you can learn things, how people operate, equipment they use, and the workings through the day. I thought it'd be pretty similar, like a Dawn Patrol, but after the weekend, I saw all the videos of Dawn Patrol. It looked like a hoot. It was like handing out, Pebble Beach Dawn Patrol caps. They were the commodity, and everyone was just loving it. It was a real atmosphere and energy and crowds.
Right. It's
Yeah.
a party.
I
It starts the
think
day
it was
with a
a-
party.
It was
Yeah,
a different Dawn Patrol for me this year than the previous years. And what I mean by that is, so my alarm was 4 a.m. I got picked up at 5 a.m. Obviously, you dress smart for Pebble. And we rocked up, and we have a secret car
best
parking
shorts and
space.
flip flops on that day. Okay,
There was none of that. You would have been chucked in the ocean, I think. And we still managed to secure our top secret car parking space. So that was good. We didn't get towed, although they are towing more cars nowadays. Top tip is if you've got any meatballs on the side of your car displaying which rally you've been on the way up, take them off, because that's the easiest way to get a phone call to say, hey, move your car. But it was different this year because I think it was more organized. I believe that some of the hotels were offering special buses that was a paid for gig for Dawn Patrol.
Makes sense.
So
Really?
it was still good, but it was just different. The same thing happens. You line up for donuts and coffee, and then you look for the Haggerty bags. So they don't. It's not an
Right.
obvious thing. These Haggerty employees are subtly there, and you just go up to them and you sort of say, "Hey, do you have any baseball caps?" And baseball caps are a big thing. The Dawn Patrol baseball caps. If you look on eBay, they go for like $250.
Wow.
So I managed to do it twice. Managed to get 2 hats, which have both gone to 2 employees of the Peterson as a a bit of a thank you. But so I didn't walk away with any hats. But yeah, it was a fun way to enjoy the cars coming onto the lawn and all the rest.
So just to set the scene, so the Pebble Concours is on the water, right? If you've never been, so it's a very different vibe, and I don't know if it's like this every year, but this year there was a very heavy fog, marine layer, whatever you want to call it, that was sort of hanging over until it burned off later. But it's kind of magic, right? I mean, this is the Big Daddy. This is the OG event, right? That started Car Week, as I understand it, and so there's definitely the sense of tradition and just pomp and circumstance and this and that and just the location. I mean, there are whales breaching in the water behind you. I mean, it was just incredible. It was amazing. And this year, you tell me if this was different than last year, but you've got all these amazing classic cars and things. But the thing, Alan, you alluded to this earlier, the thing that caught my eye and the thing that I was hearing a lot about were these quote unquote wedge cars, right? And so, a lot of concept cars. Just to go through the list here, the Aston Martin Bulldog, owned by Philip Serafin. There was the Ford Probe concept that we found out burned later that day in a trailer. Which, was that car from like 1980?
Was it a Probe? Was it a Ghia?
70. It was a Ford Ghia Probe concept. It was the Probe 1. I'm going to look it up here while we're chatting.
And there were bits of that design language that carried through until very recently on Ford cars. It was wild. It looked like a much more contemporary car.
Right.
I'm trying to think what else was in that mix. There was I mean, that's incredible, right? Like that it looked that contemporary, right?
Well, and to get to see it, I mean, say that again.
Yeah. The orange Stratos was in that car, and that was on the wristbands. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't even notice that. That's
every year they have like a few classes that are just for that year. So quite often it's the steering committee who organise the event. They kind of come up with the ideas.
Watch your mouth.
Yeah. Sorry, swear words. Come up with ideas around what should we do this year. So I think the 90s GT class was one of them this year, and also the wedge cars.
That was their first time on the lawn.
Those were so cool because as children of the 80s, right? I think as we all are to some, greater or lesser extent, those are the cars that, were, I don't know, just meant something a little more to us. And that's always the argument, right? Are these cars going to stay relevant? And this, well, you keep bringing cars like that to the show, and they certainly will. It was, a different vibe for sure, because you have the judging going on, you have the, you do not get free food and drink at Pebble. So that's a little different, although there are hospitality suites and everything else that you can, take advantage of if you have an invitation. And it was just a very different kind of event. But by this point, guys, I am just completely toast. Like I am just drained physically. Like you're walking around, like your shoulders, you're just like, I could be in better shape, but I was physically exhausted, by the end of this. But yet this is just kind of the capper to it all, I mean, this is it. So interestingly, this year too, you talked about the different classes. And I think for the first time ever, a preservation class car won Best in Show.
Yes.
Any of you want to talk a little bit about that? Because that means it's a car that's not restored.
Right. It is in the condition it is in after, like, it has not been restored. It is the way it is, the way it has aged from when it was built and driven. So it was the first preservation car to win Best in Show. And it was also the first car to win Best in Show that is owned by someone not from the States.
Okay. I didn't know that. So who owned that car? Do we know?
Fritz Burkhardt from the Pearl collection. And he was there.
What car was it? Sorry, I don't know.
It's a Bugatti.
It's a Bugatti. We're going to find this. I should have this ready to go. But
because at that point, I was contending with traffic on the 101 heading back, and The
in
journey
Range
home
Rover.
was not as slick and as comfortable as the one up. It took forever.
Yeah. So this was a 1934 Bugatti Type 59 or Type 59 Sports. So,
Okay. Beautiful.
yeah, Fritz Burkhardt of the Pearl Collection in Zug, Switzerland. So,
Yeah, and
There you go.
winning best in class
yeah,
at Pebble is like almost life changing in terms of the value of the car disproportionately increases. The invites then come in for other events, so it'll be like a very wanted car, but lots of other car shows, etc. So it's literally a milestone in a collector's history, if you will.
Right.
and the reaction was priceless, right?
Watching the owner, and he was there with his
Yeah.
daughter, and I love to see the multi-generational
amazing.
stories, and I think that's what's so cool about the Czinger story too, is the father-son
Yeah.
duo.
Yep.
But yeah, Fritz, he was so authentic in his enthusiasm, and getting to see him win was just so special.
It was an awesome event, but again, to my point, like by this point, I was kind of already checked out mentally. And I just wanted to like go sit on a park bench, right?
I'm super
Alan did,
happy
but
in how I started my my transition back into society again. As we said earlier on, it was, I just had to reflect and then got in the Rangy and cruised
Yeah.
back and stayed at a friend's house in Hollywood and went out for sushi that night. It was
nice.
it was
Well,
it was good.
Speaking of ranges, I think one of my favorite parts of Pebble Beach were the Royal Range Rovers, the
Yes,
Royal
the
Land
Queen's
Rovers. I think they
the
were about
Queen's.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were all in her maroon, or I think his special green, right? If I'm remembering that correctly. And so a lot of them were these open, sort of backed, almost like parade vehicles, kind of like the Pope Mobile or whatever, where you stand and you wave or whatever. And they were
Right.
so cool. And it was also just really neat to see like such well-preserved Land Rovers, right? That like, or just the interiors were in great shape, and they, their little, it's not the Royal Hey, Brits, what is that little thing? The mark of the, like by the royal appointment or whatever,
Yeah, the seal of approval.
seal, is that what, just literally
Yeah.
the seal of approval,
Oh,
like
royal
good
seal.
housekeeping? That's what that
The
is.
Brits, who are you referring to? Is Alan now a traditional Brit?
Yeah.
Have we made him a
Has
Brit?
he been accepted?
I'm part of the Commonwealth. I'm okay.
Does he have the Queen's tattoo?
What does that mean? That's a
Is
euphemism.
it this? Is that the Queen's tattoo?
Oh, hey.
Wow.
I didn't know you had ink. Come on.
There you go. Oh, there's
I love
more. Don't worry.
Jane as
We'll
well,
reveal it as we go down.
What-
As we,
each show, pull up a
Yeah.
different part of
if
your.
someone says I don't wear my heart on my sleeve, you now know. So
There
For
you
those
go.
listening and not watching us, Alan's just revealed a tattoo on his right arm.
Whose name is on there?
Oh, it's blank, so it's open for the highest bidder. So,
Any potential sponsors? This could
yeah,
be.
there you go.
This could be
We can
Sheffield
fit
Watch.
Sheffield in there,
Prime real
right?
estate.
That's right.
Yeah, we can ink it in for one, like as in like ballpoint pen per show.
Right.
I love it. That's amazing.
tell the
That's
story.
amazing. That's
They make
amazing.
really good temporary tattoos now, so you can just order the script,
yeah.
wear whatever for a few months,
There
and
you
then
go.
order a new one.
That almost looked a little too vibrant, a little too crisp.
Yeah,
That's
one of my
the-
friends, he goes, "Is that real or is that like a what does he call it? Instead of a tattoo,
Oh,
a
henna.
prat-too? Do you know what prats are? Prat is like, so it's like you can get them on holiday and they last like a couple of
Okay.
weeks and then they're gone. So a prat is just an idiot basically. So you have a tattoo or a prat-too. So
Where was that word when we were trying to come up with the name for the show?
there you go.
Prattling on.
Hey,
You know,
that's
Also,
right.
for people that don't know, in Formula One, when people sit on the pit wall on that little sort of booth, control booth, so the nickname for that is a Pratt perch. So it's like a bird perch, but a Pratt perch is where all the people sit and yeah,
I love it.
put themselves
That's
on
pretty
show.
funny.
Speaking of, there is a note here, and I don't know whose note this is. Bullet point: not getting into Lamborghini hospitality. Epic
I think I
fail.
know who that is.
Tell me about this. Is this Dan? Is this you? Because
Look, I got, I don't know, a 10 for 10 success rate
yeah.
on hospitality. And hypothetically speaking, Lamborghini may have had a house at Pebble Beach and I may have tried to pretend to be an Italian called Andreas, which they were having none of, and sent me away with my tail between my legs.
I can't believe
I
they
want more
didn't buy
detail
it.
here. Yeah,
Right?
real Italians didn't pick up on the fact that
Can you believe it?
Unbelievable.
I couldn't believe it.
what
They sized him up as he was crossing the road. They knew there was no brown
Right.
shoes, brown belt. He was out.
So I was given the name of someone who was on the list. So they
Okay.
said, if you go up and your name is Andreas blah, 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 you're on the list, you can get in, no problem. What ensued was a bit of a discussion between them and I about how Andreas was actually Andy. Yeah, Andreas, but Andy is how I go by. And who I worked for and how I spelt my surname, which I got everything right, but still didn't get in. So
Really?
yeah, so that was a bit of an epic fail at the end of the week. But Lamborghini, I didn't want your gin flavored coffee anyway.
Yes,
So
I
I
heard
went
about
by
that.
the Brabus. Yeah, I went by the Brabus stand, and that was pretty interesting. A G wagon, which was 680,000 with their bolt-on body kit, no performance mods. So for people that want it, but
Well, that
just
adds
opposite,
50
hey?
horsepower. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Speaking of, if
It's
all this
slower
crap you
with
see,
all the tap
exactly,
bolts onto
right,
it,
right.
so-
All this crap you see on YouTube, like the Mansory kits and all this is where all this goes, right? I mean, this is, if you want to see this stuff that you don't see in your own hometown, go to Car Week and you will see it again.
Let's
The
go
multiple
hang out.
6x6. Oh my God. So many cars I would never want in a million years, but so many amazing, beautiful cars too. Just again, parked around, I joke about I don't like street parking my GT4, and then you go there. And it's like, all right, kind of just
Everything
enjoy the
there.
thing, Yeah, if I
Yeah.
can park my
Right.
F40 on the street, I can park my GT4.
But there was just opposite Brabus was the Ferrari house, and it did look really cool. So I'm definitely going to head down to Maranello's and start working on next year's entry. So,
Nice.
Well, that brings me to my next question. Is there anything you wouldn't waste your time with next year? And what are our squad goals for next year? Because we can't just do what we did this year. We're going to have to top it. And I know it's going to be tough, but we're going to have to top it. Otherwise, I just won't be a happy boy.
I think
And we can't
McCollum
have
Whiskey
that.
kind of blew it for me. Yeah, I think you had a pretty tight slot. It felt like a bit of a sausage factory going through there. That was a bit of a disappointment. So
Well,
Yeah,
you go
that,
and try
it
it, and now
sounds-
we know.
Now we
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And now
I-
we know.
I know
don't-
for me,
yeah,
I
go
would
ahead,
love
Lindsay.
I would love the opportunity to do more commentary of the races. I thought that was just incredible.
Yeah,
and
that was so cool.
like Alan, we talk about, you sort of debrief with yourself and with friends, and in thinking back through the week, getting the opportunity to do that was incredible. Like, I asked my dad, I said, what was your favorite? And he looked at me and said, I'm still, just kind of gobsmacked that we were invited to do that and got the chance. He said, if you had told me when we started going to the races in 97 that we were going to one day be up in the booth, we would have thought you were crazy. And yet
Yeah,
here we are.
Yeah.
your
an
dad is
honor.
a gem,
It's
though.
an
He
honor.
really is, and I love his cool, relaxed, jovial, funny
Yeah.
styles.
Yeah.
He's
So
good at
Ryan, you think you can edit the YouTube video, and we'll put a link up for people.
Yeah,
to-
we need to isolate that, and it's well worth it, and that was absolutely a highlight for me, unexpected, and I'm so glad I didn't know till I was there, because had I known 3 months before, I would have been more prepared, but I also would have not slept for 3 months, it was just this whole thing was just an honor, and you realize that you really are part of this community when you run into people who know you from the show you've done, or from Instagram, or word of mouth, or whatever. One of the highlights of my trip was, it was the last night, and I was having a really nice seafood meal with Terry and Tom from the Grand, and we were joined, and I don't want to name names here, but a big car collector and a couple who had joined him for the meal. And the couple, the man is the world's foremost expert on vintage Hispano-Suiza cars. And so got to sit and talk, through broken, English, about these cars and what makes them special and everything else. And there was a group of 4 Italian people at the table next to us who sort of picked up, and this big strapping Italian guy comes up, and there's just a certain way, like, Italians dress. Like, it's like, they're not Brits, they're not Germans, they're not Americans. And it's just a certain style. And he comes up and he goes, I recognize you. And he points to the collector at the table, and he points to me and said, and I recognize you too. And
Wow.
I think Tom and Terry with me, like, like we're floored by
Celebrity
that,
now. Yeah.
and again, I'm not sure where he recognized me from, but I'd like to think it was
Most
the
Wanted TV.
It
podcast.
was obviously
maybe I
your
just look like
podcast work.
Right. Or maybe, and to make a short story long, they were the people that had brought over that rainbow. I think it was the 208 Ferrari that was part of the
Oh, no
Wedge
way.
collection. So got talking with them, and that was pretty special. And it happened a shocking number of times when I'd run into people that I knew, just people, just through the car world for whatever, whatever the reason was. And I think one of my biggest fears about this thing is that I was going to feel like an outsider. And that was not the case at all. I immediately felt comfortable. I immediately felt at home, like I was with my people. And you couldn't turn around. I'm sure any of us on this, here now,
Even for me, the biggest surprise was the house, the horsepower
Heritage. Yeah. That's,
hacienda, I think it was
oh,
called.
is that what? Oh,
Yes.
I can't remember. I think that might have been it. But there was 5 guys staying in the house, but each night someone random would like turn up and stay, and they'd sleep on the floor or sleep on the sofa. I woke up one morning, there was a guy sleeping on the floor, an Aussie, who is a jumbo jet pilot. He had just flown in, and whilst he was there, he's also a race engineer. So he landed the plane, got back to the house, had a coffee, and he was doing race engineering live over his phone to the team in Australia. Then went to sleep, and then got up, and then went back and flew a plane.
amazing.
There was Tom Barber. I think he goes on the ground. He's got a handful of old Miller Indy race cars. Bobby, who has a couple of Duesenbergs and was racing at Laguna Seca.
Wait, I'm sorry. How do you say that word?
Duesenberg.
I wondered who was
There's
going
an
to do
Easter
it.
egg if you go back and listen to our commentating on
Yeah,
the.
exactly. An Easter egg. And he's got 14 restaurants in LA that he's like old buildings, like bowling alleys repurposed. He's such a cool guy. And he has this saying called, I love it when things are nice and sweaty. He's talking about old cars. He loves old cool things. And is Jorge, I think he's from Miami or Colombia, but he also lives in Colorado. And he's
Jorge
got a
Fuentes,
collection
right?
of Porsches.
Yeah.
And so he and I are now actually going to go to Croatia, and we're going to do the 25 years of GT cars, RS cars. So he and I are going to Croatia to do the Croatian rally now as well. So
that's going to be a ride.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And I can't list off all the people because we, I think each of us ran into 100 people that we knew, right? Or more,
Well,
and
I think the
right.
fact that we hardly ran into each other, but we all had a jam-packed week.
That's it. I'm trying to be modest here, but I was just shocked at how many people we knew who knew us. Yeah. It just felt like this is where we belong, and so it was validation, for what we've been doing, and kind of to your point earlier, Ellen, reset my expectations of myself and what I want to do with the second half of my life. It's this really lit a fire under me and changed me truly. And it sounds like I wasn't the only one. So
definitely not.
Definitely,
can't wait to go back next
made
year.
Me reflect as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It was absolutely amazing. Is there anything else we want to add before we wrap up this? There's
still tons of things that we did see there. Like
as soon as I hit the button, it's all going to flood into my head.
On the beach. What was it? South?
Oh yeah,
it's Spanish Bay.
Spanish Bay. Sorry. I was going to say South Bay. Yeah. So there's that as well. There's so many things.
Yeah, it was.
Well, we may have to do another discussion or a bonus episode because there's just so much.
Yeah, it was really wonderful. So thank you all for being there. Thank you to all the folks that we ran into. Thank you for all the, to all the people that shared their hospitality with us and the access and everything else. Thank you to Jay Turkbus at Sheffield Watches,
Yes.
Porsche Colorado Springs, Alicia Busa, and all the folks at
WeatherTech Raceway Rolex Reunion. Yeah.
Yes. And we can't list everyone because there's just too many, but you all were part of making this a really special few days. And I know I can't wait to do it again. I mean, I wish it was 2 weeks from now. I'm hyped
Right.
and excited.
So I sent
it's under my
Marie,
skin.
I sent Maurice a message on the Monday morning and said, if you book that house again, count me in. I am back.
Done.
So
Yeah. We need to have a roadshow house though. So maybe
Yes.
I did
co-sponsor.
So that's how we're going to level up for next year. We'll have our
That's
own
right.
house.
That's
Well, I
it.
think
There
we
you
go one
go.
better because
Yeah.
in Carmel, I got on Sunday, I went and looked at a couple of shops that were empty and I got the numbers for agents. I think we need to do a roadside episode because Carmel Main Street, they have,
Be amazing.
Astons,
Ocean.
Ferraris, different days down Ocean Avenue. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll go do a live recording down there, I think.
I like the way you think. Well, back to the real world, huh?
Yeah. Daytime
No
jobs.
thanks.
Yeah. Hang on. This is
Right.
like nail marks down this wall.
I
All right, guys. It was an awesome trip. So glad to be a part of it with you. And until next time for the road show.
See you next time.
Bye.
Cheers.